I think we're on.
Sure. Great. We'll go for it. Now it says 10.
10? Mine still says.
Now 11. So.
All right, guys. If you're watching, you can hear us type something over in the chat box for us. Let us know where you're all from.
Yeah.
I can learn how to type.
If you haven't figured it out by now, it's just not going to happen.
It's downhill. All right, 11 people. All right. Welcome, guys, to Firebird Friday. I'm Brian, Arrowhead Garage, my 67 Firebird behind me. And that guy over there
is John. That hopefully my camera's working today, but we'll find out. But I'm trying to put it back up here. I've got too many Firebirds, but my dad's is on the main stage, 68 Firebird convertible, so it needs welded. Surprise, surprise. Guess what we're going to talk about. So the guy down yonder is
Louis from First Generation Garage.
Gentlemen, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
It's Friday? When did that happen?
Looks like we have Foster, VHP 454, Tom 63 Le Mans.
Yeah.
And Don't Fight Plastics are joining us. Tony from Virginia.
Virginia?
That's what he said.
All right. Okay. Maybe it's not raining there. So.
Yeah, no rain in Phoenix. Only a high of 93.
Whoa. That's too hot.
4% humidity.
Nah.
You say humidity or stupidity?
Stupidity, because your brains get fried over here. Howard Russell's here. Jim's here. Bowtie Classic said it's sprinkling where he's at.
Dang it. Yeah, I saw it. It finally stopped here, so I put my car outside, but it literally just stopped. So.
All right. Well, tonight we're talking about welding and welding in a two-car garage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're an amateur, I mean, I was an amateur and I can weld sort of good now because of this guy over here, John. So, and then, so who wants to start? Louis, John?
Well, I guess where do you start at, right? So I guess we got people watching. Of course, we appreciate any kind of input or comments or questions because I'm going to assume that maybe you've already bought a welder or maybe you haven't. Maybe you want to know what kind of welder, 110 versus 220. So we're just going to kind of fly by the seat of our pants like we always do, make fun of each other, have a little fun, and talk about tearing stuff up or fixing it, however you want to say it. But I'll tell you what I'm using. Mine's an old Eastwood welder. I've had it. I wish I could get the camera. I'm afraid to move my camera, but I've had this thing for 20 years. I filled it full of water 3 or 4 times, and the garage just had a roof that leaked. It just won't die. It's a fantastic welder. It runs on 220. I use shielding gas. And I use a 0.030 wire, which is a little big compared to what a lot of people like to use for sheet metal. But that's what I taught myself to do, and I get it to work. Now, I guess if you're starting new, you might try 0.023 wire, a little smaller. It works better for sheet metal, but I don't know. I guess I just never learned to go that way. No one ever told me. I read a book, and I don't think I remembered the wire size, or it's what I had, and just went with it. So, I guess you're kind of welds when doing this kind of stuff. Some people feel when you put the joint together, a lap weld is acceptable where you lay the panels on top of each other and then burn one side of it. It's a common practice. I don't like doing that. I would get into that why. I'm more like lining the panels up on the same plane, maybe a small gap, and I like to burn it in. And then when you're going to do plug welds, you guys have ever watched the channel, and I think Louis kind of follows suit. Tested everything with self-tapping screws. Some people hate that technique. I love it. Again, we could talk about the whys, the pros, and the cons, but it leaves me a nice little hole. I drill it out a little larger, and I fill that plug hole right up with that weld. And I might even do some of that this evening, and I call it destructive testing. I can take those factory spot welds and pop them apart almost effortlessly with an air hammer on this old stuff. Now, a modern truck like that out there, no way you're going to get those apart like you can in these old cars, but I can do that style of what I was talking about. Put the screw through the hole, 1/4-inch hole, weld it solid, and it will not come apart. I beat the crap out of my air hammer. It's like a modern vehicle. So I'm pretty confident that I won't have any issues with that. So, but I guess where we're at, any feedback from anyone out there in the world of questions or thoughts before we dig too deep into this? So.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and in the chat box over the side, give us some questions if you have them on welding or other ideas.
And John is gonna demonstrate the gas welding, right, John?
Yeah, I got mine all set up that way.
And I'm gonna demonstrate flux core welding. Long story short, that's what I started with. It didn't mean to stay like that, but that's what I started with. And just like John, I had nobody teaching me. There was not even YouTube out. I think YouTube just made 20 years, and I've been doing this for like 23 years. I think I own my 67 that long. And trial and error, I became really good at it. It's a lot of people that do not agree to use flux core on sheet metal, but let me tell you something. I'm living proof. I have done it many times. Many times. The only car I did and I used gas was the 67 GTO because the owner supplied the bottle. And they also have helped me because if I'm welding overnight and I don't have to say, oh, well, my bottle finished, I can't weld no more. As long as the electricity is on, Louis is gonna weld.
Moron.
Moron.
Yeah. I guess that brings up a very good question. Now, for me to have my bottle filled, mine's the number 3 tank, is what they call that. It's the 75-25 mix. I can exchange it from my local Tractor Supply because they use those bottles. It's about $60 now. It was 30 a few years back. Now it's about $60 to get that bottle exchanged. I've got cheaper routes, but it's just convenient. We're talking 10 minutes up the road, I'm back to burning metal back together. But I've been told some horror stories. A tank that size, some places, is quite costly. It's part of the reason why some people don't mess with it. So I'm kind of curious out there, those who are watching, how much does it cost to get your bottle exchanged? I think $60 is fair, but I mean, cheaper would be better, but I don't think that's too bad.
I know my bottle is probably
I got 1 or 2. Yeah, probably 2.
It was like 40 some bucks a couple months ago.
Yep.
That was a refill. Well, was it an exchange or was it a refill?
They exchanged it.
Yeah. Yep. That's out here in Arizona. Louis, how much you pay for gas back there?
Nothing. I don't even have an idea. I know it's expensive because the bottle my buddy supplied that time for the GTO. Now it costs like 100 and something to fill it up. It was a tall bottle.
Right. Wow.
Gus says, what size bottle to keep in the garage to do quarter panels and maybe a front fender fix? I'm new to all this. I guess I would also get enough to practice with. So that means you're going to have to buy the bottle, right? And then the gas, too, when you go to get that.
Your first time expense is a little more expensive because then they'll just exchange it after that. So
right.
I just priced an extra number 3 bottle, which is a good sized tank or bottle, however you want to call it. And I was going to have a second one, so I ran out the other day, and it sucked. It was like $550 up front initial cost for the tank. They used to be about $300. That's how long it's been since I've messed with buying one. So I decided that I was going to not buy that extra tank. And that's from Tractor Supply. There may be cheaper places out there, but of course, the smaller the bottle, a little less upfront expense. But once you purchase the bottle, then you just exchange it. That's what I'm talking about, $60. But your first upfront expense is going to be a gut punch if you decide to go that route. And what he's talking about, a couple quarter panels and practicing, probably about the bottle you have there, Brian, like a number 2 bottle is probably sufficient for that. It'd be kind of hard to absorb that expense up front, but I guess that's the price we pay to play, unless you can master flux core welding like Louis, and then go for it. I never got it. No, I couldn't do it. I can't. I don't know how he does it. It's magic. So,
Mr. Bill is here tonight.
Cool.
Jim says, not sure bottle size. It's about 3 foot tall, $74 with exchange, but there's a $200 deposit. Woo! So they want a deposit instead of a buy the bottle type situation there.
Right.
Jim, where are you at? What state or what part of the country are you in, Jim? Let us know.
There it is. Mine's about 3 foot, about 32 inches tall. They consider that a number 3. So I don't know.
Yeah, and mine's a little bit shorter than. It's not quite 3 feet tall.
Yeah, it's probably number 2.
And Jim is in Iowa, by the way.
All right, cool.
So $75 in Iowa for an exchange.
Nice.
So you go to Harbor Freight and you buy a flux core welder for what? $150?
That was my first one.
Okay. So, and I still have mine.
Right?
Yeah, I just gave mine away.
So you get the welder. What else you gonna need?
You're gonna need a helmet, some gloves.
Tools.
Oh, the wire. Let's talk about. That's a good point, Brian.
Wire. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because the Harbor Freight flux core welder that I bought years back, it was good. But when I used to go and buy the Lincoln wire off at Home Depot, it will perform better. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I started, buying more cars. So I had to buy a better welder and something that hold a big spool. So now I use the 10-pound spool, and I buy Yes Welder flux core wire, which is a shield wire. The gas is around the shield. It's right. Not like, it's different than using gas. Anyway, a 10-pound spool, I ain't gonna lie to you. I could do a whole car, maybe finish another car, and still have a little left to start another project. But nice. when you buy the better wire for flux core, I only could talk about flux core. When it's Louis talk, I'm talking about flux core. When you buy the better name wire, the flux core machines does operate better. They perform better.
Now that might have been my problem. So
yeah, and I use 03 wire also. If you use if you use 35 wire, it's too much. Yeah. You're gonna be blowing through. That's when you warp the crap out of your panels and all that kind of mess. And that's what people are so scared about flux core. But if you stick to the 3.0, you won't.
That's what I've been using, is the 3.0, I believe.
Yeah.
Keith says he uses flux core, but he's not as good as Louis.
Who said that?
Keith Holt.
Keith Holtz, okay.
He says, not as good as Louis. I'm not as good as Louis. I've been there. I've seen his plug welds even. I don't get it. We built that cross member for the, it was the white car, wasn't it?
Lucy, yeah, Lucy.
Okay, yeah, and I tacked underneath the car. I said, forget it, you burn this thing together. I couldn't get it to work. So
yeah, this guy's amazing. So I gave him a turbo 350 / if you have a manual transmission, the birds come with the same cross member. And John said, Louis, give me 1 minute. And he looked at it. He said, okay, give me your grinder. And he went to town and he designed the whole brain and thought about that cross member was John. I got pictures of him cutting and designing it. And he said, okay, here, go, burn it. And let me tell you something. When I was done burning that, you could pull the Titanic off of that with that cross member.
Yeah, it works. It works.
It gets a job done.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, technically, they're stronger welds. Technically.
Yeah. Flux core actually can do heavier metal. Flux core wire is the way to go. It's the reason it's not, I guess, say people don't use much for sheet metal is you really got to know the technique or you're going to blow it to bits. So
yeah. You'll make a mess out of it 100%.
My first car, I tried using flux core, and fortunately, I learned how to use a lot more Bondo back then. And I hit a lot of stuff because it was off. I blew holes through it and just, it worked, but that's why that car's over in that third bay. I had to completely redo everything because some hack worked on it 25 years ago. So.
You're gonna watch those hacks.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So can you just use sunglasses, Louis, for welding?
No, I use a helmet, and I actually have this for a long time. I never upgraded my helmet. This is the cheapo from Harbor Freight. I had it for years.
Yeah.
You look like Darth Vader.
Yeah, I mean, I had it for a long time. I might buy a new one and treat myself someday. But
does yours take batteries or is it just solar?
No, solar. So I keep it next to the lights of the garage all the time.
Okay. I had one that had batteries, and of course, halfway through, same thing. The battery dies, and you're just doing one of these numbers. Ah, dang it! And then you realize what happened. then you shut down.
Your eyes, it's still burning. Yeah.
Yep. That's one thing I have yet to do. I have not flash burned my eyes yet. In the years of doing this, I've been very fortunate. I've not experienced that discomfort. So, if you have, let me know how uncomfortable it is. But I've never done it.
So Gus says he's been eyeballing a Yes Welder MIG 205 DS to 200 amp 5-in-1 MIG flux lift TIG stick spool gun and bacon and cheese sandwich maker. And you can get it off of Amazon for under $400.
Really?
That's not bad. Not bad. That's not bad.
Is that? I wonder if that TIG is AC or DC.
Gus, you know if it's AC or DC? Let us know.
On the TIG part of it, right? For that kind of price, if it's AC TIG, I'm gonna buy one tonight. Just don't tell Whitney. She's probably watching though.
All right, so welder, gloves, helmet, wire. We got a welder. What else we need?
Well, it depends if you have a 110 welder or a 220 welder. Mine is 110. How about yours, John?
Mine's 220. So.
Oh yeah. You need that fire extinguisher too.
Not that I have any stories. I'm just saying.
Yeah, thanks God, I have one too.
Yeah.
It's like that condom I kept in my back pocket in my 20s.
Yeah.
In case.
Yes. Oh, he says AC TIG. Well, shoot, I just spent some of my couple dollars I make off YouTube maybe on a new toy. So. The reason I bring that up, if you're gonna try to TIG weld aluminum, you really want an AC one. I've never TIG welded anything. I've been reading about it. I've been chomping at the bit to play with it. Now these old birds, there's nothing on them. It's aluminum that really needs to be welded. But man, there's just some times that I wish I could weld aluminum. So I've explored that a few times. But I think that one of the TIG welders I looked at a few years ago, it's still like between a DC TIG versus AC. It went from like $200 or $300 to over $1,000. And I decided $1,000 is too much just to play with something and maybe use once or twice in my life. But if it really is only $380, I'd be kind of interested. So,
just correcting himself, he does say it is a DC TIG.
Nah. Hey Whitney, I ain't spending no money. Not yet. Yep.
If you can run a molten puddle, you can TIG aluminum, Richard says.
He's pretty handy though. He's a fabricator, so I mean he's probably got some more skills than us. So
he's probably professional grade, right?
Well, I think so, yeah. Yeah. All right, so I guess at this point we got some questions on welders and we've got some blanks filled in using a bottle. Now there's the thing about it. We briefly said aluminum, but we said our shielding gas, where it's obviously for keeping the weld from getting contaminated. For welding steel, you're going to use a 75-25 mix. That's the most common. But if you're going to start burning some stainless or aluminum, you need 100% argon. So you need another daggum bottle, and you got to keep that full if you're going to start doing that. So FYI. And I tried welding steel with 100% argon. It doesn't weld for crap. That's why they mix it. So just FYI. So I thought I'd try it one time because I can try to give it away using one bottle. You can't. So something else to put in your, I guess, back pocket if you're thinking about spending the money.
Have that. Richard said he's been doing this for 40 years.
Yep, he's got us beat. So
yeah, he's definitely professional grade.
Yes. Brian said he's quitting. You see that, Louis? He said he's done.
So Bill from St. Louis, he wanted me to bring or give him a template on the dam.
Oh yeah, the baffle on the bottom.
Baffle. So I took my baffle off, and I took some butcher paper that I stole from work.
Yeah. What?
Did I say steal? I mean borrow.
Borrowed permanently.
Borrowed, yes. I'll bring it back next year. So Bill, I got that coming to you in a couple weeks.
Ooh.
All right. Gus says, are there any places to avoid for getting gas other than Tractor Supply? I have a little mom and pop shop that, when John was here, I went to for my stuff. I like supporting mom and pop. I probably pay $10 more, $15 more, but to me, I'd rather go to someone's family's table than to some corporation's, $50 million yacht. But that's my take. Billy Bruce says, check the dates on those fire extinguishers, fellas. They should be replaced after 7 years of service. Tip, shake them once a month, powder cakes up, and check the gauges too.
Yeah, it should be stamped on the bottom. Mine says 19, so it's just about the end of its life. So that is a very good point. So.
Oh, never mind. We want to. I graduated high school before this.
Oh crap! The funniest part was he said he graduated. So
yeah. Barely. Richard says yes. Okay, cool. All right, so we got the welder, we got gloves, we got a helmet, spray through or a weld through primer.
Mm-hmm. If you're gonna do like a lap seam or you're gonna do some plug welds, not a bad idea to put that in there to help keep stuff out. Now, unfortunately, as cars from the word go from the factory, they put absolutely nothing.
Right.
And that's why we have you're always going to find some rust in those seams. But while it's apart, definitely not a bad idea. So I like that plan.
Yeah. So. That's something I really don't use either that much. The weld through primer.
You don't use it, Louis?
You just use like regular self-etching primer, don't you, between the layers?
Nah. I used to use the weld through primer, and then I started thinking, if these birds could last 50-something years while having no weld through primer, and they was driven in all the garbage, why should I use it?
Okay.
And also let me tell you something. I seen videos. There's a guy that he does these videos, and he's excellent, some farm guy, and he showed the weld through primer like after he was welding it, and then he'll separate everything. It was a bigger percent that burned off than anything that stood there on the metal.
Great.
Huh. Yeah, I'm between. I mean, where the weld goes in,
Yep.
So it kind of made me not a believer. So Louis does metal to metal and call it a day.
All right. Well, again, you're not going to dry this stuff in the salt, the slop. It
exactly.
doesn't sit outside in the weather. So.
Gus says, where do you guys buy wire? Lewis mentioned yes welder wire for flux. Again, I buy mine in a local mom and pop welder
Amazon.
shop.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mine from wherever I can find it. No, actually, like Menards and Lowe's, they sell Miller. They sell U.S. Steel. They seem to work pretty good for me. And I don't buy the big rolls. I like to find my adapter or buy one again to put it back to a 10-pound roll. Louis sent me a link to the little adapter. I cleaned my garage out one day, and I saw this piece of plastic. I'm like, what's this for? And I just pitched it. And after a while, I finally remember what it was for. It's the adapter to run the bigger spool. So
it happens, yeah.
I just get purging, And I'm going to do a purge again here soon. So the Vinyl Village garage, I'll be getting a lot of stuff. That includes parts, too. So I'll be maybe do a free cycle of some sort and say, come and get it. The price is right. So I'm going to do a purge here once I get Dad's car done.
So Jason, who's in Oklahoma that has a 69 bird.
Yes.
Has a Orga Speed Shop. He wants to know, what do you guys do to solve the tin canning on panels? And I have to admit, I have that on my trunk on my car. I can push on it. And it goes, bloom, bloom.
If you're in the middle of building the car, so you're putting your metal together, I think that's your opportunity to shrink it. And the way I'm saying shrink it is you gotta apply heat and whack it with a hammer. I've done it many times, and it stops. The oil canning will stop. But I mean, a car that's already done, and I think you lost your chance at that point. I'm saying
you're gonna cause if you try to do it after it's painted. This is all part of your metal working or metal prepping stage, and typically shrinking it is the way to do it. You can heat. I've seen people heat them with a torch before.
Yeah, I do it with a torch. Yep.
Yep, do it with a torch, and there's like a certain color you wait for it to change to. There's shrinking discs, which I've thought about playing with one of those. Those look pretty cool, but I've not experienced or had any feedback. I've watched videos, but for the most part, if you, I guess it depends on what caused the oil canning. You just got done running a nice long butt weld down a whole panel, then it's done that. Typically, you can hammer and dolly your seam. That'll actually relax the metal or change it, and it'll actually sometimes take care of that oil canning effect. But I guess it depends on what caused the oil canning. If it's been stretched from a large dent and you worked it back out, you definitely need to shrink it.
Let me explain what I'm talking about. So this make believe this tissue here is your sheet metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you press on it, and it has that like an oil canning effect, right? This is this is laying down on this hole here on my hand, right? The panel, there's nothing behind it. So when you push, you hear the klunk, klunk, klunk. So you see there's extra metal there. And when you heat it up and you're shrinking all those molecules together, you're heating and you're shrinking that metal, and you make it tight like that, you see now she's not flopping, right? You have to do that. You heat it up and you whack it with a metal. With a hammer, when you whack it, she goes like that. Now you don't have to hit the crap out of it that you're gonna mess up the panel. A nice simple pop and cool it down with air. Okay, I'm a little old school when it comes to that kind of metal work. I quench it with a rag. Okay. And people don't like to use water on metal, but let me tell you something. It's just the beginning stage.
Right.
It's gonna dry by the time you're ready to. You're gonna dry it, of course, but by the time that sucker gets primed, painted, blah 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 blah, there ain't gonna be nothing there.
Yeah, and think about it, you can still metal prep it, acid etch it, wipe it down. You're gonna
correct.
You're not gonna hurt a thing. So.
Yep. So you're shrinking it, and the canning should go bye bye.
So Gus says, what would be the most common mistakes when starting to MIG weld on the car? Lessons learned.
Well, don't start on the car. If you're learning how to weld, don't weld on the car. Get some scrap pieces.
Yeah.
Explore butt welding, lap welding, plug welding, and get a feel for how your welder performs. So I can tell you what I set mine at, and I can tell someone had probably the exact same welder. They may not set it the same. It's all about how fast you move your hand, the distance you keep it away, the size of wire you're using.
Yep.
Even the pressure you have set on the regulator for the shielding gas can affect what's going on. So the thing I would suggest doing is learn to weld off the vehicle. And then for me, welding, here's this part, I get the most feedback of how my weld is doing by the sound of it more than what it looks like. If it's making god-awful popping noises or not a nice even buzz or sizzle and bacon, I got something wrong. I'm either contamination, wire speed's too fast, too slow. So it's one of those things, self-taught lessons. You're going to do some trial and error. But when you're welding it, if your wire is going too slow, you'll literally watch the tip of the wire melt back up towards the actual welding gun there. And then if you got it going too fast, you're going to be blowing the puddle straight through the backside of it. So it's all effective with your speed, the temperature, and everything. So practice on something besides the car and get comfortable with the type of weld. So.
Yeah, I got something to add to that. And if you guys follow me in my video, I constantly say this, and I mean it. Nobody came to the world knowing.
No.
Okay. There's a lot of show-offs out there in the world of Facebook, and they talk a lot of garbage. And a lot of also show-offs on YouTube that they act like they was born with a welder or born with anything, any kind of tool in their hand, and they just demand, and doing it. And that's not true. Practice is what's going to get you to be good. Okay. I won't say perfect because there's always space to learn, always space to get better. Okay. And that's the only way you're going to learn, for not being stubborn like that. And allowing you yourself to learn, not think you know everything, because I don't know everything. Okay. I saw Frisky, for those people, Frisky, something like that. His name is in Canada. He got a huge YouTube channel. He's an old body guy. He's been doing this for years. And he always said he practiced and he still cannot pick up on flux core welding.
Yep, I can't.
All right. And the only reason I became good, like I said, is because that's the only thing I had around, and that's what I practiced with, and that's what I stuck with. I could probably gas weld with my eyes closed, and I'm not lying. I find it very, very easy.
This muscle memory and sound, right? All right.
Yeah, don't get discouraged with anything you guys are doing. Don't look at us and think that we didn't hit bumps on our journey to get these cars done, because yes, we do. We still do. All right. You will get it. You will finish your project. You just have to stay positive and stay on it. That's it.
Yeah, because they're not here. I didn't see Jim and Kelly. Are they check in today or not? But
I've not seen Jim and Kelly.
Okay, he's done all that. He did exactly what we just talked about. He's never welded a thing. Never worked on this stuff. He had several practice panels and then got really comfortable with it. And the other thing is, he started doing like the underbody, the stuff you don't see, the exterior sheet metal. So he's going to learn how to weld the stuff that you don't see, right, and then eventually improve and get better. So that's the thing about it.
So I remember going to Home Depot and buying a sheet of sheet metal, probably 20 gauge or whatever. I came home and I made little strips, and then I made, a cut here and I put them together. So I butt welded. So I learned to butt weld. Then I drilled holes in one and sat it on top of another one, and I practiced my spot welding.
Yeah.
And so afternoon on a Saturday, you take a few hours, you cut some stuff up, and you just burn, and after a while, you just get the muscle memory.
Yeah.
Of how to do it and what you're hearing it, and
how fast to move, everything. It just becomes second nature after a while.
Yeah. So. But they all say practice makes perfect. So. Like, how many times did we have to do what we had to do before we had kids?
Well, some things just work out.
Only one time.
Are you sure?
So James says, anyone still doing carbon arc welding? I'm clueless. James clueless here, buddy.
Yeah.
Gus wants to know, does he need a weld table to learn on? No.
No.
Just some place where you have good ventilation. We didn't really talk about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Good ventilation is an ideal. There's some things to avoid. Any metal that has galvanized coating on it, that stuff is toxic. It needs to be removed, or don't weld it. I'm not saying you won't, because some of these parts are galvanized, but that stuff is not good to breathe in. And I'm not always the best at setting examples. At least I'm going to tell you about it, and you can make an informed decision.
So let's say you buy a part, and it comes with this black stuff. Can I just start welding?
No.
EDP?
Good point, Brian. No.
Well, okay. MIG welding, clean, and clean is step number one. Can you weld on weld through primer? Yes, but your welds will be much cleaner and look better if you were to remove it first. Now you'll see that all the time. I don't always take all of it off, but I'm also doing my plug welds. I'm drilling through all the layers, and it takes off all that EDP coating, and I start burning it in. So
yeah, clean metal. Yep,
clean metal. So. Those are nice Ram Air ones I see, Brian. Those aren't the ones that have the closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the nice ones.
Yeah, I have those on my 67.
I figured here in Phoenix, Arizona, when it's 120 billion degrees outside in July, I want all the fresh, cool air I can bring in that motor.
The more air, the more gooder, huh?
Yeah. Plus, I think I want to put little red lights, LED lights, so that way at night the red is going to shine through like nostrils.
Yeah. I saw pictures of someone's car that way.
Me too. Yeah.
What's his name? He has a YouTube channel called Smitten in the Middle or Smitten in the Mitten. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. He did that to his Firebirds.
Okay. All right. How about that? Well,
let's see. So Jim says, I have an old metal patio table I use for a weld table, screen wire loop. Yeah, I have one too outside the house here that if I need to weld something, clamp it and
let her go.
James says, I've never welded on primer unless it's a plug weld. Okay. VHP 454 says, I might spot weld panels when I use a high frequency TIG to finish.
Wow.
And he followed it up with MIG may not, or MIG not might. Okay. And Richard says on the gas welding, he uses about an 18-pound on the regulator.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot of opinions on that. Like I said, I read a book years ago. I think I just started the same thing. What's it sound like? And am I getting problems? So there is something about the pressure with compared to the gauge. And I don't remember. I think mine said about 15 is where mine set at. So, and of course, the lower means less gas and I can go a little further. So I'm just saying I'm cheap.
So we buy the welder, we buy all the tools, we buy some scrap, panels, and we start welding. Then we move into actually touching our car. And I think what you were saying with Jim and Kelly is start on the floors.
Yep.
Because
you don't see.
Yeah, you're going to be covering that with carpet, and no one's going to see that. And you'll learn fast, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah. That's exactly how I started. I did the floor first.
James says, Jonathan and I were discussing the pros of using brass as a backer to weld smaller holes. Works so perfect for panels you can get behind with a flat brass.
Mm-hmm.
I took an old copper pipe and
hammered it. Too. Yep.
Same idea. Yep.
Yep.
Same idea. Yeah. Yep. That's the other thing. I guess we're talking about patch panels and stuff. Now, I am not good at this. I like to butt weld. But when it comes to, let's say, the bottom of a door corner, we say corner. That means it normally has like a 90-degree bend in it. Those corners really should be radius. You're going to draw the metal less. It's going to less chance of warpage or that oil canning effect. The challenge of that is matching the radius. It's much easier to make two straight lines and a square patch
right
in there. But if you can do a radius or learn how to do that, if you're just starting, do that. You'll probably save yourself some headaches or warping or less chance of oil canning when it's done. So, and again, I'm not the best at that. Just saying, I need to work on it. So.
I think welding's a lot like cooking. Everybody has their own little techniques, and it works for you. Awesome. It doesn't work for you, then find what does work for you. There's no like secret sauce or whatever.
Yeah, you mess with the recipe until you get it. All right.
So you burn a couple, expensive steaks or something, but you learn it, right?
Right. That's true.
Chucky says, hey guys, sorry I'm late. How's everybody going? We're doing pretty good, Chucky.
Yeah, doing all right. Yeah.
We're getting low on liquid refreshments. Remember, stay hydrated.
That looks like gasoline.
Both run a car. So
Richard says every day and works nice on aluminum when you're welding against a wood structure. Tom 63 Le Mans says, question on butt welds. I've seen pros say if you can't hammer and dolly the welds, they shouldn't be done. Your thoughts?
Okay. If you're a super great metal finishing shop, they're probably right. You really need to hammer the welds to get them to relax. You're gonna stretch it just a little bit because when it welds and it cools, it shrinks and draws it all in. You're gonna hammer it to get it to relax and lay out. So if you can't get to the backside of that, you can't do that step. So the metal may have some issues. Now, those issues, if they're less than a credit card thickness or even an 1/8 inch, you're probably all right. I've seen cars that they will take body fill and go from in front of the edge of the panel to the rear edge of the panel. And that's acceptable in the high-end, you say, building of the car. For me, if you've got that metal worked that straight, I just don't know if that's necessary. I don't use that much body filler. And I can tell you that I don't hammer and dolly all mine out. but I also like to think that I've got everything within credit card or 1/8 inch thickness or less. So it depends on where you're at. The super high end stuff, you're probably right. Building a whole car here in a 2-car garage, taking a rusty relic that someone threw in the dumpster and no one's going to do anything with, probably not going to be perfect, but you're going to bring back a car and have some fun driving it. So don't stress about that too much. Weld what you can, make it solid and make it sound. And I can tell you from experience, from what I've seen in my years, I've seen cars with 1/2 inch of body fill inside of them still look good several years later. Not my style, not what I like to do. It's not permanent, but let's be honest, I hate to admit it, that stuff's pretty durable. I don't endorse that method, but I'm just saying, you can put a lot of body fill on a car and be surprised how long it lasts. So,
agreed.
Well,
Mr. W, first time seeing Mr. W on here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
He said, do you guys prefer to weld panels on a flat part or a body line? I have a couple of lower quarter panels in my future.
I don't like welding on a body line because you just said the magic right there. It's a body line. That's a highlight. Now, I like welding close to a body line because it gives you a little more structure. So if I'm going to do a butt weld, let's say within a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch of a body line, and it's also less filler because you can typically fill it to that line. That's just my style. That's my 2 cents. But I would not cut along a body line and try to weld back in a body line.
No, cut below it. Let's see. MacGyver W6 says, for things like rockers and floors, do you just drill holes and do the plug welds every couple of inches like the factory did? Or do you do more?
Well, here comes the thing. Now, you want to do that one, Louis? So.
I do more. I do more than the factory. And I don't like Jonathan said earlier, we're gonna call it the VVG plug welds. And I seen that style before, even before I met Jonathan, but he's the one that drilled it into my head, and I liked how he was using it. So then I used it and I became good at it. And let me tell you something, if you try to break those welds, good luck, because you're going to destroy the sheet metal. They just don't break. So they are stronger. I know they're stronger. I don't need nobody to tell me yes, no, baby. So I know they're stronger than the factory plug welds. And to be honest with you, if you see Jonathan, I think it was the last video on Friday. This one today or Wednesday's video. I think it was Wednesday's video when you opened up the
pull the cowling off.
Yeah, like a sardine can, you just curl the pliers
right off, right.
So it shows you how really they're not strong at all. Sometimes they even miss.
They miss. Sometimes you see the dimple in the metal, but it didn't actually grab. So
yeah. So for his question, go a little more. I always go 1.5 inches when I do my plug welds, and it happens to work nice. It looks nice, and do the best you can in the plug welds. Use whatever method you find easier for yourself. I find Jonathan method very simple, really nice, especially when you don't. Let's say if you don't have too much C clamps. I have a ton of them, but for guys that you don't have to keep on spending your money buying a whole bunch of C clamps, those self tappers hold everything for you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
You can test.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't like
exactly.
It, take it apart.
Take it apart, move it, and just fill in the hole that you did. That's it.
Now I can say this. I had my 67 Porsche 20 years before I got this Firebird. That's also a 67. When I was welding the new floors into my Porsche was like every 20 millimeters, there was a weld, a plug weld. I mean, it just like, holy crap. I spent days drilling. Then when I started working on the Firebird, it was like one over here, then maybe
over here, then over here, and over here.
There.
And it's supposed to be a straight line.
Yeah, and I'm like,
yep.
Maybe my car was built on a Friday or a Monday after the Super Bowl. I don't know.
You know what's so funny about these first gen F bodies, Camaro and Firebird? I seen that on both because I have a good friend of mine. He's a huge Camaro guy, and sometimes I go to his place and work over there too. The rockers. You see how John likes to build his projects with the rockers, because that's your starting point and it makes sense, your structure and all that. If you take the tail panel on these cars, it has more plug welds than the damn rockers. You know what I mean? So
Now, I never went to any collision repair or modern car structural repairs. Now, reason I'm bringing this up, we talk about spacing of plug welds and how many. This stuff here, 1.5 inch, you're probably going to be okay, because what we're doing now is, like Louis said, it could actually take a lot more abuse for it would actually let go. But the thing to keep in mind, modern cars, for collision purposes, the spot weld location, type, number, and everything has to be right. Or you won't have that energy absorption ability. It's just going to be too strong. And that problem is, and that's too strong, and it has to be transferred energy somewhere else. So you can't put additional bracing inside on modern cars or change it up. Now, this is your car. Do what you want with that information. But in that situation, so the answer isn't always true. These older cars, you probably do what you want. You're going to be better than the factory, and you're not going to hurt it. But something newer, well, that may not be holding true, just to share that with you. So, these cars weren't designed with crumple zones and energy absorption, despite the steering column, like Louis showed us. Other than that, now they're death traps. So,
oh, so he died. Big deal.
Yeah.
All right. So James says, MIG, experiment with different nozzles as well as different wire size.
Yep.
Also, with thin metal, 16 to 20 gauge, have an air nozzle close by. Quick cooling of a fresh weld will tend to shrink it. Good tip. Yep. Cool it down.
That's how Louis does it. So.
Yeah.
John Kilborn says, what gauge wire are you guys using the MIG? And I think
mine's mostly 30. Yeah, mine's mostly 30. So.
Me too, 30. Yeah.
Victoria says, great info, guys. Thanks for all you doing this live. I plan on later this year taking some welding classes at my local college.
Heck yeah. Do that and come back and tell us how to do it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Sure. So
Gus says his Firebird is a convertible. Is it better to do quarter skins, or are there quarter panels or patch panels? Louis.
Oh, let me answer that, please, because I just finished doing 2 convertibles.
Yeah, I'll let you do that.
I'm gonna be really honest with you guys, and John knows, because like I said many times, me and John religiously every afternoon we'll talk to each other and we share our experience, what we're gonna do next in life, and blah blah blah.
Good
right?
And bad. Right.
Let me tell you something, okay? If you could truly save your pennies and buy a full quarter, because you said convertible, he has a convertible. I will strongly suggest to buy a complete convertible and burn her in. And it's not going to be that difficult. But if you put skins, you might be ripping your hair. If you have any, I don't know the guy, but if you have any hair on your head, you will be ripping it off, because I did it to the Lovebird. And the only reason, I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I'm not a show off. I'm one of the most honest person you can meet out there. The reason I did the Lovebird like that is because it was given to me with the project. And I felt, you know what? I have it. And out there on YouTube, they don't show too much quarter skins like this. They show more of the whole complete quarters. So they could have the best of both worlds. And if you see my video, I mentioned it a whole bunch of times. It's not easy. And the reason I also attacked it, because I have experience with metal and experience to deal with it. And I also gonna show that with a credit card, she still sticks. So I really didn't use a whole bunch of filler to hide anything. Okay, but it's not easy. It's like what John was saying. You know, you got to do that radius, which I didn't, once again, because I'm experienced in doing it. But please, as a friend, I'm going to give you the best advice: buy full quarters.
Yeah, you buy the full quarter and cut what you need. Now, the only time I'd use a quarter skin, if I was going to use just small sections of the wheel well, a small lower section, and do patching. A quarter skin stamping, everyone I've ever lined up compared to the factory, like a 69 has a top line and that middle line down the whole side of the quarter panel. If you measure between those two, between the factory, a full quarter skin, full quarter panel, sorry, and then a quarter skin, not the same. The full quarter and original quarter is really close to the skin. They're almost a ½ inch closer together by the time you get to the back of the car. It doesn't even line up. You'll be chasing your tail. So a quarter skin for only minor patches, the only reason I would probably ever do that. So But the cars I buy are completely rusted out, so I'm buying the full quarter panel. I don't always do the trunk jam section, but I use 90% of the full quarter panel. So.
James says, "What the hell is millimeters?"
No, it's M&Ms. He doesn't know what M&Ms are. Candy.
Greg says, "Hey guys, Greg from Michigan. I like to chew up some bit of honey and put my panels together." Ha ha ha!
Brilliant.
Is he talking about the candy? That as a kid, I remember having a little piece of candy that was like a yellow.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff. My grandma used to have.
Yeah. I forgot what it was called. Oh shit, yeah. I forgot.
Jim says 3/8 by 13-inch mini belt sander makes short work of spot welds in tight places.
Yep. I guess it looks like Wild or Nine said they weren't available in the 90s.
Hey, wasn't that candy called Lady Jane? I think so. I think the candy was named Lady Jane. Yeah. I think so.
You know, I did my high school Firebird back in 96. You could not buy full quarter panels, so I had to hack quarter skins into that car. But fortunately, I really just needed the outside sheet metal. I didn't have to line up the top and the middle line. I left the top line off, cut it off, and ran about 1.5 inches down below that top line. And yes, it had quite a bit of body filler in it, and it held up, but I didn't like that repair. Compared to what's available now and what can be done with a MIG welder, yeah. But back in the 90s, you did what you had to do. You had slip-on rocker panels that were junk. They cost you $200 a piece. Crappy quarter skins. You just made it work. But we have better panels now. People complain about them, but I'm telling you, you should have bought this crap back in the 90s. You'll love what this stuff is now. So.
Yes.
It's gotten better.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here. Tony says, DD Speed Shop makes it look so easy. I've watched a few of his videos. He's up in Canada.
Yeah.
He's a kind of guy. I like that. James says,
sure what's the D and the D means, but I never figured that out. So
might be his name, like David Duncan or something.
Yeah, maybe.
And then, so James, here's a funny story. So before Jonathan came in April of 22 to help me with the roof on my bird, all I had was millimeter tools. It was all metric tools. And like a week before he came, I broke down and bought a standard socket just in house. Because I was tired of going, 13 mil, half inch. I was just 19 mil, 3/4. Like, yeah, you know what? I'll buy some.
We make it work. I got both. I got metric and standard. So
yeah, I got both. Yep.
And I got a hammer to make the rest of them fit when they don't. So it's cool.
Yeah. James also says, "Hey, seriously, have any of you used panel adhesive?"
Yep.
No, I don't like it.
I've got the 3M body panel adhesive gun. I use it on these cars sometimes. I love this stuff in the sense of it's watertight. It's a very structural bond. It holds up. And if you read the paperwork, it says you can weld through it. But they didn't specify what they meant. That meant you could plug weld if it was still not completely cured. Not plug, sorry, spot weld with an actual spot weld gun, I guess you could say. You can't plug weld. It will contaminate the hell out of welds. Because I tried doing my Transmarado, the rear quarter panels around the wheel well lip. I went ahead and put that stuff in there, clamped all into place, and then I put some screws in it to hold it while it was curing. And I come back later and tried to weld it. My God, it ruined my plug weld. So, but it is a watertight superstructural bond. I like it, but if it's an area you're going to do any welding, you can't. It says in the paperwork, what they meant to say was actual real spot welds, and I didn't. I guess they didn't read that properly. So there was also a fad to use that stuff to glue roofs on when it first came out. When you had like hail damage, instead of welding the roofs on cars, you cut the old roof off and glue them on, but they wouldn't give you a warranty. But that was something they were doing for a while.
So. John Kilborn says he's using a Hobart 240, and the wire speed when I pull the trigger to spot weld is slow, and adjusting the speed doesn't change the wire coming out unless I hold the trigger in a constant, like when I'm loading it. So it sounds like what he's saying is it doesn't get any faster unless he just holds it down.
Well, some of these welders are smart welders, and they automatically adjust the speed of the wire a little bit. So I don't know how new that welder is at Hobart, but
maybe he's tying up the spool too tight inside the machine.
It could be too much drag on the spool. So yeah, there's many possibilities there. But like I said, some of these newer welders are, I call them smart welders. They will automatically adjust the speed ever so slightly to the demand, and it kind of helps you set it. Again, learning curve, you know. So mine got a stupid welder. Mine's old. Mine ain't that smart. So
another thing about tools. Let's talk about tools with welder. Don't get caught on those big names out there and spend a whole lot of money thinking they're gonna make you a better welder. I have a buddy of mine. He makes me laugh. He has like a welder from Eastwood. It almost cost him maybe $1,500 or more. I don't know, some crap like that. But it does everything. I mean, the welder might even make love to you. I don't know. It does everything, right? And you know what it's doing? The welder is sitting in his pole barn collecting dust.
Yeah.
Okay, he don't even use it. The only one that ever used that welder was me when I go over there. Don't get caught with big names out there. I did upgrade from the Harbor Freight to Eastwood, and the only reason I really did it is because there was a special going on, and the machine that was like 500, I think they dropped it to 300, and I picked it up. Okay, so and just an advice out there: wait for Christmas time, like the end of November and to the first week of December. Eastwood would drop their prices
until Santa brings you something nice.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I did, and I love my welder. You know, it does great, but don't get caught with the big names. Just think about it like this. This is what I tell people, right? If you don't know what you're doing, doesn't matter if I put a Chinese tool in your hand or I put a snap-on tool. You're gonna probably shove it up your nose because you don't know what you're doing. You get what I'm saying? But when you know what you're doing, you could practically use anything. You know, that's it.
Yeah, you can.
So about 10 years ago, I was shooting about 40 to 50 weddings a year as a wedding photographer, and I loved going to a wedding and having someone walk up to me and go, "If I had a camera like yours, my pictures would look amazing too." And I would take my $8,000 camera and lens,
give it to them.
To them and go, "Okay, here you go. Now give me your camera." I would take their camera and I would set it the way I would set a camera, and I would go out and take pictures of stuff I already shot, and I'd hand it back to them and go, "Look, that's me on your camera. It looks just like this camera." And they were like, "So it's not the tool?" No, it's the person holding the tool that makes the magic.
It's
excellent example. Good example.
It's not the tool, it's the fool.
So Jonathan, this has become my new obsession. Thank you.
The Baja? That's Whitney's.
It's the Baja.
Yeah, that's Whitney's. My daughter, JL, and Whitney like that one. So
next time I come see you, I'm going to bring a whole 12-pack of these and stick them places.
Great. Great.
All right, let's see, where are we at? Tony says the DD stands for Dan and his wife, Danny.
Okay.
Tom63 the Mon says, "John, are your rollers in good shape? Sounds like some slippage." That's always tough, slippage. James says, "Turn down your heat." James also says, "I use a really old Lincoln 135. I sold my Millermatic 350. Okay. And
I saw that.
What's up with the GQ photo shoot that Louis had?
I have to meet James one day. He don't live too far from me. He's like 45 minutes away.
Really?
I go to a junkyard. The junkyard that I get the old stuff. John, he's around there.
Okay, yeah, I like following. He's got that car he's building for his wife. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Oh yeah, yep.
And it's like MacGyver WS6 says, "Hey Jonathan, just verified. I still have 7 bottles in my fridge for when you come to visit."
I want to bring this up to the audience. I had an idea that I shared with Jonathan and Brian about having one of the guys that are building the cars that watches us on the show.
Yeah.
So you guys that are watching, get in contact with Brian, and we'll pick from there. We'll try to give everybody a chance We want to hear your story, how you guys got inspired, on what you're working on and stuff like that. Your trial, your errors. I think that's excellent.
Yeah. See, my guy over there, he cut a second gen bird in half. He took the front half of one and the back half of another and trying to put them together right now. So he's tinkering in the garage. He's doing pretty good with it. First time attempting anything like this. Now, he had a little mishap. He forgot to secure the back half of the car and had a little topple, but he's got it back together again. So he's close by. I'm going to swing by and check out what he's doing. But maybe I get him on camera and we'll have a little fun. So
yeah, that's cool.
Lapis blue here.
Yep, little bot, huh? Cool.
All right, so do we want to do some trivia?
Yeah, I didn't realize we already been rambling on for almost an hour already. Did you see that?
I know.
We hit an hour already. We hit an hour.
Okay. James wants to know, Jonathan, did you speak about bending repop front bumpers?
Well, not this go around because we're talking about welding, but there's repop bumpers. That may be a whole separate episode. I mean, it's a roll of the dice whether you get one out of the box that fits, but when you don't, you got to do some modifying. But even Louis had an original bumper, just wasn't hitting the marks, so we made it work.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's the white car.
Oh yeah. There you get a grinder. Normally the repop bumpers, the biggest problem is the grill fitment, especially for 67 and 68. The Mockingbird, my Trans Marauder, the front bumper fit phenomenal. I thought they got these things dialed in. Bought the same brand, tried to put it on the Mockingbird, and I had not even close. I had to jump on it, kick it, twist it, kicked it some more, ratchet straps, and I bend it too far. I had to bend it back. Hated it. So that might be a different video for a different day, but there are ways to make them fit better. And they said the grill openings, a grinder could be your friend. The problem is now you've got an open edge. You're going to promote corrosion, but the trade-off is a crappy fitting grill or a good fitting grill. Maybe put some clear coat, put something on the edge. I don't have the best solution, but you got to roll the dice, pick and choose your battles, I guess. But that might be something to. I'll buy one of these. Actually, I got new bumpers for my dad's car. I need to see how bad they fit. Maybe I do a video on squaring those things up. So,
John Kilborn says, FYI, I had my Aragon CO2 bottle exchanged and didn't notice when I got home, but put a regulator on it and it was empty. Took it back and they said sometimes they leak out. They exchanged no charge, but from now on. Good tip there.
Okay.
All right, so here's our trivia question. And this one might have to be a t-shirt. I may have to give away a t-shirt.
Oh.
So here it is. What was the factory paint code and official color name used exclusively on the 1969 Firebird Trans Am? What was the paint code number and what was the official name of that color?
Paint code. Are they going for like what's on the body tag, or are you going for? Man, I don't know. Okay.
So I dug deep for this one.
I guess. I mean, I know the name of the color. I don't want to ruin it. So.
Yeah, we need the paint code number and the name of the color. So it's a two-part. We need the number and the name, and you get yourself a t-shirt.
Okay.
And speaking of t-shirts, I noticed somebody mentioned earlier that Louis' GQ photo shoot. Do you guys like the little characters that we were throwing out? Was it 2 weeks ago or something?
Something like that.
We need to come up with a group logo for our lives. So if you guys have some ideas or suggestions, throw them our way. I'd love to work on them throughout the week when I have nothing better to do at work.
Is this like with or without Speedos?
Neon green.
Anyone not want to see that? Let us know.
And then my phone just started talking to me. What the heck? All right. Let's see. We've got a few people here. Let's see. James says white. John says BR549. Gus says paint cone 50 cameo white. Wilder 9 says 11 polar white. Keith Holt says Tyrone blue.
For the stripes. Tyrone blue is the stripes. So.
Okay.
You wanted the base color. You wanted the main color. So.
Yeah. And the paint code number.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I mean, do we want to make a Firebird Fridays with y'all's name on it? Okay, James, that's a good idea. Do that with a T-shirt. With our little characters, or what are you thinking, James? Talk to us.
Cartoon character version, or GQ shots, or glamour shots. Let's do some glamour shots. So.
Remember those days? Go to the mall. They'd all doll you up, and
yeah.
Now we have filters.
I can be pretty and not wrinkled anymore. I can be young again. So
I know.
Look like Louie, a little baby face Louie. So.
Yeah, you look like you're 20. What is this?
You don't sleep.
Don't sleep? That's my problem right here.
Well, I got one. Well, no one's ever going to know this. The Trans Ams, the body tags. Now, I can't prove this because I need to spend some more time on some real Trans Ams, but I was told, and the next time I go look at a real one, there is the paint code. It should be, I'm not going to say because this is the question we're talking about tonight, but also on that body tag should be a D like David, D80 stamped somewhere on the body tag, which indicates spoiler, was what I was told. Now, I can't find this in any of my official Firebird books. It's just stuff that I've been searching the interweb on. So if anyone can confirm that, anyone have a real 69 Trans Am and willing to share or confirm that with me, that would be fantastic. I would really like to know. So the next time I go to some of my car shows, I'm going to make it a point to investigate that. So in case if you're wanting to try to identify a real Trans Am or not, that would be a telltale for sure, besides waiting on your Pontiac Historical Services paperwork for $100.
John, I probably could let you know the next 2 weeks when I go pick one up.
If you're picking up a Trans Am, yep. Hey, buddy.
Who knows?
Yep. Hey,
so it looks like we have two people who have correctly answered the question. One of them has already received a shirt, so I'm thinking we need to bump him. But we'll see here. I'll give it a few more minutes, and we'll see who can come up with something. So if you guys are working on a Firebird project or any kind of project, and you want to be on the show, drop me a line. Let me know what you got. Let me know where you're from, and we'll see if we can't get you on. We'd love to showcase and show off other people's channels, other people's rides. Just bring the community together for us first-gen guys.
Yeah.
Well,
does it have to be first-gen? Because we call it Firebird Friday, so is that not?
That's right. It could be second-gen, third-gen, fourth-gen.
We just happen to like first-gen, but I'm an appreciation for all the Firebirds, so.
With our friend Lisa in Texas, she has a 76.
Yeah,
Firebird.
I believe so.
7. Yep. So we're open to all Firebirds, you know.
Yep.
And Camaros, you know, we'll be nice.
Just
Shut it down, Louis. Shut it down, Louis. Shut it down. First gen min, John says.
What?
Well, tomorrow the paint starts on the Firebird.
Nice.
Really? All right. Very cool.
So we'll be putting some paint down tomorrow and into Sunday and see how things work out.
What's the temperature going to be like tomorrow?
93.
Ooh, good luck. Wow. What kind of reducer do you have? Super slow motion reducer, or what's the?
What did we get? Let me see.
Yeah, you better.
Or you better. What's the temperature like at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning?
Well, let's find out. I have that old internet.
Oh, the smart button. Yeah.
Smart button, yeah. So tomorrow at let's see here. At 9 a.m., it'll be 70.
All right. Okay.
That's good.
70 is not bad.
So 70 is not too bad.
Yeah.
Let me try half for reducer.
Yeah, because if it comes out as a powder, you got the wrong stuff.
I thought we were powder coating.
You probably could powder coat it, roll it outside in the sun, and let it bake. You'll be fine.
No.
Okay, just like Brian. So.
No.
All right, you might be all right.
In a box. All right, so I guess we're gonna pick a winner, and that would have been. Let me go back up here. Foster, you got the right answer. It was the number 50 paint code and the cameo white.
Yep. So the body tag on a Trans Am will say 50/50 unless you had a vinyl top Trans Am. And you picked a goofy color on your Trans Am and put a vinyl top on it. That'd be a different number. So
68 Firebird also used cameo white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keep It Simple Garage says, "Hey guys, take it easy on the Camaros."
That's my boy Al. That's Al from Keeping It Simple Garage. We should have him. We should have him here live one day on a Friday.
Al, if you're willing to come on live, let me know. We'll throw
you. Yeah, real cool dude.
We won't be too hard on you.
Maybe.
We do have 40 weight sandpaper, 40 grit.
Yep.
But James says, did Lewis ever pose like Burt Reynolds? I think we get to posing like Burt Reynolds. Do it up.
Yeah.
I can send him a cowboy hat and he can.
What's the only reason you take your hat off, Brian? So.
One of these days, I need to drag out. I have a picture from 1993 of George Strait backstage at a concert in Phoenix, and he took his cowboy hat off, and he has a white towel, and he's bent down, and he's about to wipe his head off. Fault. So that's why those boys wear cowboy hats, is because they're a little thin.
Dang it. I think I need a cowboy hat then. I don't like them, but I guess I need one.
Gotta rock the cowboy hat, John.
I got cowboy boots. How many times I've worn them? 0. never worn them. So I just can't do it. I can't.
I have a black pair, a brown pair, a work pair. Yeah, 3 or 4 different pairs. Depends on my mood, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any last questions? We've been on now for an hour and 15.
Sink or swim, right? Now, do or die.
That's right. Sink or swim. And yeah, just so everyone knows, whenever there's like a major holiday, we'll probably take a break from doing videos that holiday. Like Valentine's and Easter. Just know that there's a big holiday weekend. We would like to spend time with our families too.
That's what we're telling everybody.
That's right. We're really in the garage working and sand and stuff.
Yeah.
Finally, a day to ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so no more questions. So, Foster, get a hold of me. I got a T-shirt for you. Let me know what size and where to send it. And until next Friday, I mean, keep your head down, or I don't know. We have to have some kind of like
sign off.
Yeah.
Besides flipping the bird, right? So.
Whoa. Blurred for her prevention.
Yeah. It's you guys on the flip side, right? So
let's see. Oh, wait. Do we have any more? All
right. Well,
James says, make my T-shirts gray. Okay, we can do gray. Right. So I think with that, guys, we'll say goodnight.
Yep.
And if you guys have any questions, let us know, and we'll see you next Friday for another.
See y'all then.
All right.
Bye, kids.
Bye-bye.